Coming up, a decision in the latest battle over face mask requirements in Fargo public schools.
Several students in the West Fargo School District now facing criminal charges in connection to a TikTok challenge.
Plus, the latest on efforts to give hero pay to frontline workers in Minnesota. Valley News Live at 10 starts right now.
This is Valley News Live at 10.
But there were a couple of things that were said by parents that I found extremely disturbing.
Good evening, everyone. Several concerns brought forth tonight as students and staff will continue to be required to wear masks in Fargo public school buildings.
The board voted now just recently to keep the requirement, citing the reported increase in pediatric COVID cases in the area. Valley News Live's Nishay Taylor has more on the board's decision.
Universal masking within the Fargo Public Schools was once again a hot topic during Tuesday's school board meeting. The Fargo School Board decided to keep a mask mandate in place after there was discussion of possibly changing the policy to a recommendation rather than a requirement.
We should not be mandating this for so many reasons. What is the end goal here?
During public comment, some parents brought up examples of how the mandate is affecting their children.
Even though my son with autism, who has a letter from a medical doctor, has been told that he is not able to use the bathroom unless he uses his mask properly for 5 minutes.
School board member David Paulson said if these actions are true, they are unacceptable.
If that's happening, that's abusive. I couldn't believe it when I heard that. If that's what we're using this masking for, that is almost borderline criminal. I was just appalled by that.
But majority of the school board still continue to express their disagreement with changing the policy.
We're trying to avoid the shutdown by not overwhelming the hospital capacity in our community.
Even one school board member is now having a change of heart after she previously voted against implementing the mandate.
You know, I did not support the motion that we passed on August 10th. And for a number of reasons. And the number of use cases that I'm seeing in a lot of my boys and girls clubs, I am not ready to lift masks right now.
Ultimately, a 7-2 vote shut down this chance for removing the mandate, and Fargo parents will have to continue sending their kids to school with a mask. In Fargo, Nishay Taylor, Valley News Live.
Now this week, Fargo Public Schools has reported 15 total active COVID-19 cases.
New at 10 tonight, unofficial results show voters approved the school referendum in today's special election, adding a $10 million increase to the building fund up in Grand Forks. It's the second time this year the mill levy has been brought before voters after failing in June. More than 2,700 voters today voting yes, with roughly 1,400 voting no, giving the question approximately 66% of the vote. It needed 60% to pass. Officials in the West Fargo School District say thefts are still happening within their schools, and now 6 students have been charged with theft or vandalism from incidents related to the Devious Licks TikTok challenge. It's prompting students to steal things from their school like wet floor signs, ceiling tiles, and soap dispensers. West Fargo leaders sent an email to parents saying students have a high likelihood of being charged if they're caught.
A 13-year-old West Fargo boy remains in critical but stable condition tonight after being hit by a car while riding his bicycle Sunday night. It happened near 33rd Avenue and 8th Street East. Taryn Klein suffered a broken femur, fractured skull and jaw, as well as chest trauma. He remains sedated tonight as his brain continues to heal.
Taking it 1 minute, 1 hour, 1 day at a time. And any positivity we can get, that's what we hold on to.
North Dakota Highway Patrol says they are still investigating the crash, but early reports indicate the 21-year-old driver didn't see the teen as he biked across the road. A GoFundMe page for Klein and his family has already raised more than $25,000. We have a link to the page on our VNL News app. Simply click on the story.
A Valley City woman says her apartment is infested with bed bugs. She's lived at Rudolph Square for 6 years, and she claims she isn't the only resident having this problem. She says it's been going on for several weeks.
They aren't showing any relief when these are just in the end of September.
Property manager says the woman's apartment has been cleared of bed bugs by an exterminator. 2 other units at Rudolph Square are still being treated. If you want to bring attention to a concern in your community, call our Whistleblower Hotline. That number is 701-237-6576, or you can fill out the Whistleblower form on our website.
Well, after much debate and some reluctance among themselves, North Dakota lawmakers will soon decide on a plan to subdivide one of North Dakota's legislative districts. The state has seen lawsuits to subdivide in the past, but the courts ruled that the population wasn't big enough at the time. This time, the Native American population is big enough, and lawmakers must decide if they'll draw lines to avoid litigation or test the precedent. Now, most of the focus is on 2 districts in the northern part of the state. If districts 4 and 9 were subdivided as is, the Native American population would be more than half of their areas. Based on recent federal court rulings, this would warrant a subdivision. But the current lawmakers of those districts don't want their seats threatened.
It really kind of hurt my feelings when they started saying they wanted better representation. I said, how are they going to get better than me? I'm a pretty good guy. And I do my best to represent everybody fairly and equally.
Now, despite a majority of members on the redistricting committee voicing support for some form of subdivision, they pushed that decision back one day. Some lawmakers said they would only support the splits unless all of the districts were subdivided as well.
Minnesota state lawmakers set aside $250 million for frontline pandemic workers as hero pay. But 3 weeks after a self-imposed deadline, there still isn't a deal on who gets what.
And that has left many people frustrated. Caroline Cummings shares some of those hero stories and updates us on the negotiations.
It's kind of like a risk every day when you open your door.
Amy Baldwin is one of the dozens of frontline workers who testified to the legislature, sharing why her work should be recognized when lawmakers decide who gets a slice of the $250 million in hero pay.
We've been putting a lot more out of our pockets, and then we have these possibilities of having to shut down, and I mean, you can't plan on that.
It's been over a month since Baldwin shared the struggles of being a child care provider during a devastating year and a half. Still, no deal from the working group deciding who qualifies and for how much.
Providers need a lot of support out there right now.
The lead Republican and Democrat on the issue say that they are closer to an agreement than they were 3 weeks ago, but still have different visions for how the money should be spent, and they wouldn't say when they think they can finally bridge the divide.
At this point, this would be a much needed boost for our morale.
President of the Minnesota Nurses Association, Mary Turner, says she and her other COVID nurses are frustrated. Some doubt that the checks will ever come. But with COVID cases rising and the Delta variant spreading, she hopes the money comes sooner rather than later. Because she says it's more than a dollar amount. It's recognition and the motivation to keep going.
We just need validation that what we did and what we're continuing to do is appreciated. And that
Governor Tim Walz would have to call a special session. He said he doesn't want to bring lawmakers back until he gets assurances that commissioners won't be fired by the Republican-led Senate.
A rare warning tonight from the Drug Enforcement Administration. The agency is seeing a huge increase in fake prescription pills. So far this year, the agency has seized more than 9.5 million counterfeit pills, which is more than the last 2 years combined. Some of the most counterfeited pills include OxyContin, Percocet, Vicodin, Xanax, and Adderall. The agency is concerned because many in these cases, these fake pills are laced with fentanyl, a deadly chemical that can be fatal with even extremely low doses.
A volcano in the Canary Islands keeps spewing ash and lava, and it's entered a new dangerous stage. Residents now ordered into lockdown as lava nears the ocean. Experts warn when the lava hits the Atlantic, it could be explosive, triggering enough force to shatter windows. On top of that, it can launch plumes of toxic smoke.
All but 4 of the 29 trapped miners in northern Ontario have climbed to the surface. The others are expected to be out sometime later tonight. The rescued miners are all in good health. The 39 miners had been trapped since Sunday when the lift became inoperable after a heavy scoop bucket crashed into it and blocked the shaft. North Korea says it successfully test-fired a new hypersonic missile Tuesday. The chief of the General Staff of the Korean People's Army watched the test launch with other leading defense officials. State media says the development of the hypersonic missile was a, quote, top priority task and increases the nation's capabilities for self-defense in every way.
Time is ticking in our effort to stock the shelves at the Great Plains Food Bank. Thanks to your generosity, we've raised more than $30,000 this month, but Corwin Automotive is willing to match all gifts up to $50,000 made by Thursday. You can find the link to donate right on our website, valleynewslive.com. Just look for that Stock the Shelves logo.
We are still receiving calls from some DirecTV customers who are having a reception problem with the Channel 11 signal. DirecTV continues to tell us their equipment is not properly receiving our signal. Our signal is functioning normally. We're working to get together to get that issue fixed.
Still ahead tonight, a big vote on Capitol Hill, the latest on the package aimed at avoiding a government shutdown.
But first, Hutch joins us with your forecast. We'll be right back with a look at that and more.